Welcome to the Entrepreneurial CEO Podcast, where we dive into the real stories behind building and scaling a business. Each episode, we sit down with CEOs, founders, and leaders to uncover hard-won lessons in leadership, systems, and team building. Listen in each week to learn directly from real business leaders who have been in your shoes, had success, made the mistakes, and all of the messiness that comes with building a business. If you're ready to learn from real-world leaders and gain insights you can apply today, you're in the right place. So let's get started. Well, everybody, today's guest is Cody Novini. Cody is a U.S. Marine Corps veteran, so thank you for your service, turned award-winning HVAC entrepreneur, and now a business and life coach for service leaders. Cody built SoCal Airflow Pros from a garage-based startup into one of the most respected HVAC companies in Southern California, where MAP is based, earning national recognition and growing it to over 12 million before selling the company in 2022. Cody's been through the grind of building a business, which we all know about, from the ground up, navigating rapid growth and transforming himself from a technician into a CEO. He made that jump. Cody's also a proud MAP alumni, and he credits the MAP system with helping him to unlock that next level of performance and leadership. Cody, we are excited to be talking to you today, man. Thank you for sharing your time with us.
Yeah, brother. Excited to be here. Get to hang out with such a great group that has taught me so much and helped me get to where I'm at.
That's great. We appreciate it. So before we have a bunch of questions for you. Before we jump in, maybe just tell us a little bit more about yourself, give the audience more information and what you're doing now.
Yeah, I've been married to my wife. We're high school sweethearts, been married 18 years. I've got 3 kids, and that's been my highest priority through everything I've done. So when I left Service Champions, where I was working, it was to spend more time with them. We enjoyed our time together. We built a business around being able to be a family-oriented group and get to spend time with our family. Did the same thing for my employees and still do the same thing now. And all the way up through everything I've done has always been focused on, I'm going to be a family man first. I'll be a professional second, and still want to, carry that on to a lot of people. I know in the corporate area and a lot of places I've worked, people just work themselves to the bone. They don't see their families, and that hurts a lot of the kids and marriages and divorce rates and all sorts of things. So I just want to be a leader and show people that they can, tackle a lot all at the same time and still be a great dad and a great husband.
And I love focus on fitness as well for yourself.
I figured that stuff would come important.
Up. Absolutely.
So for folks who don't know your story, how did SoCal Airflow Pros come to be?
I was working at a great firm. Very large and very done correctly. They did their things the right way. Service Champions, owned by Leland Smith. He's nationally known. And it eventually kind of turned very corporate, and it stopped being fun. It stopped being about the family, and it didn't go the way that I really wanted it to go. And I stuck around for about another year before I finally was like, I looked at my family. I'm like, hey, I just want to be a husband. I just want to be a father. So I left working there. I happened to also be counting cards, playing blackjack, and we were able to support myself for over a year doing that. So it wasn't like I was unemployed, but basically it was great. I spent some months not working at all, just surf in the morning, spend time with the family, put the kids to bed, and then go hit the casinos and make a few grand a night. So it was an awesome time.
That's good living.
But then friends started asking me to fix their air conditioners, and I started doing that just on my own. And that just eventually turned into a business that turned into a hobby. And I started hiring friends. I got my license. And I was doing it for it became a serious hobby. We would say as professionals, it was a hobby business. It was a job, but it was a business, and people were loving us and just referring us all over the place. So the business kept growing and growing. I don't know what I'm doing in business. I know how to sell, and I know how to install and do the service the right way. So I was bringing high level quality, but my business skills were almost zero. And so after a couple of years of just fun times and hobby, I got serious and started to go to conferences and read books and learn what it is to run a business and provide healthcare to my employees and provide real insurance to everything, and actually be a dialed in business with KPIs and structure. And it's grown from there. It went really well. We got really serious. We grew up and got really well known in Orange County. And like you're saying, across the country. I got on the board of the ACCA about 5 years ago, and was able to give back to the industry and travel the country, learn about a lot of other businesses all over the country and help a lot. And then eventually got picked up by another firm. They wanted to buy us. They asked us every year for about 4 years to sell to them. But every year I was worth double in price, so I never did it. And eventually they talked me into a sweet deal, and we sold to them. Stuck around for about a year, and then went off onto other ventures. And it's been a great run. It's been a lot of fun.
That's awesome, man. That's so impressive. You mentioned the business was just growing organically. And then, at some point you said, okay, I got to make this switch into, learning more about how to become a better leader, CEO, business owner, whatever. At what size did it get to organically before you made that leap and that jump?
I hit like the mid 4 million range. So I did 4.1 million, then I hit 4.7 million, and then just hovered right there in the mid fours is where I kind of plateaued. And during that time I was starting to study. I went to one night class of getting my master's in business, and I was like, this will take way too much time to learn. And I started getting involved in conferences and associations and such.
So it's funny. My old business partner, I think he did the same thing. He was going to get his master's while also having a business. He's like, this is stupid. Like I should be running my business right now. You're going to learn by doing. I don't know.
Yeah. It's funny you say that, Aunt Cody, that part of the story is really cool because that's what this podcast is about. We call it the Entrepreneurial CEO. It's about those moments that happen. And it sounds like this might've been your first moment where all of a sudden you're like, hey, I know how to do a lot of things as an entrepreneur, but the discipline we need as CEOs and real leaders in our organization is slightly different. And when that happens, a lot of times there's a valley or there's a plateau. And that's where someone like you said, hey, what am I going to do about this? How am I going to bridge the gap so I can take the business to the next level? That's what this podcast is exactly about. It sounds like you hit that spot right there.
I hit that spot many times, but right there was one of them for sure.
Exactly. We do hit it multiple times. Good point. I like that.
So you guys scaled, you grew. I mean, ultimately, reaching, what was it, 12 million? I mean, looking back at that time, were there any key moments, things you did, systems that helped you get to that next level and scale?
So there was a lot of them. One of the biggest ones that I tell everybody is I was sitting at an ACCA mixed group. I'm in New Orleans hanging out with these guys, and I have a mentor talking to the group of us. And he said, I didn't make it until I had 3 times more accounting help than I thought I needed. And I left that meeting and I called my friend that was a prior controller that had gone off to working at other companies. And I called him up and I said, Phil, name your price. For years, this guy told me I can't afford him. I said, name your price. And he did. And I said, okay, when can you start? And I had no idea, there was no budget that I was trying to fit him into, but I knew I needed him. And I knew if I got him, I could afford him. And he started in about a month. And that was a great point that he went and showed me the numbers and showed me what I'm doing and what I'm doing right and what I'm doing wrong. And helped me figure out a lot of hey, we're doing all sorts of different types of heating and air. And these ones waste money. We don't make much money here. We make a fortune over here. And this is our average stuff. And we just started scaling by cutting out the nonsense and sticking to what we're best at. A lot of people, they're just they want calls and they can't find calls. So they do everything, but all they do on those calls is waste their time instead of focusing on how do I improve my business? How do I do what I'm best at always? And just focus on that. And then they can scale their business, grow in there. The next point was when I went and I scooped up my general manager. That was a huge load off my shoulders. He got to run the business. The team, it really grew. It really went well from there. Chad Smock, awesome guy, very talented. We had worked together at Service Champions our first days together and then just gone in different directions. So it was really cool to get to work with him again.
I think Chad now has his own HVAC company.
He does. Yeah.
We connected with him recently. It's funny, man. The more of this more episodes we do of this podcast, there's just patterns, and it's come up multiple times now. Both of those things that you just recently mentioned. One, prioritizing family and really making sure that's a focal point before business or in addition to business, whatever it may be, but just like not sacrificing your life, your family, whatever for the business. You can do both, and you can do both. And then two, the finances. Somebody else mentioned that too, like as just the critical piece. Make sure that you know your numbers and you are paying attention and just not doing everything. And so that's really interesting. You just said that.
Yeah. That's the number. Like when we work with entrepreneurs, and when I've worked with them over the last 20 years, there's two things entrepreneurs are really bad at. One is they don't understand their financial statements. So when you say get 3 times the help, you're right, because if you just have enough to do the bookkeeping, they're not going to figure out what you just said. These are the unprofitable products. These are the profitable products. Here's where we're good. And when you can line up what you're good at, what you love, and how you make money, that's great. So the second thing entrepreneurs are horrible at, pricing. 2 big things. And coincidentally, if you get the right financial analyst in your business, like you were talking about, you can deal with both of those. So very cool.
Yeah.
Mike, why do you think entrepreneurs are so bad at pricing?
Fear. Fear of raising prices. That's the number one reason. If you have a group of 40 entrepreneurs, and I say, do you think your prices are high enough? 1 or 2 will raise their hands. The rest of them will say, we're not. And I'll say, why? And they're like, well, we're not sure if we can raise our price. And they don't think about what you just said, Cody, which is super tight, and make sure that the clients you're choosing in your niche can not only value you for what you're really good at, but are also willing to pay you for what you're really good at. And that's very important.
That's interesting. Question. All right, Cody, I got to ask you. So you're an advocate for MAP and a MAP alum. You said it helped you in your career. What was that point when you realized that you needed help? Maybe from MAP, maybe just in general, and what happened after you went to MAP?
So my MAP journey is kind of funny. I'm talking to Carrie Brunson, and I'm like, hey, I need to send a manager to your thing. Just take him, fix him, and send him back. Teach him all the stuff.
Yeah.
And he's like, all right, fill out these questionnaires and do all this work. And I'm like, I don't want to do anything. Just take him and work on him and send him back. What's wrong with you? And my manager goes. It was the install manager, Donnie, great guy. He goes and he works on everything, gets through the class, and he comes back. He's like, dude, it's so much I can't even explain, but you have to go. And so some of my managers start, like, I get everybody scheduled in my office, all of our managers. And I finally go, and they do the questionnaires before, and I sit in the class, and they're like, hey, we have 6 pillars of leadership we're going to teach you all on. But first, read this page about yourself that we've learned based off your assessment and the questionnaires on you. And I'm like reading this page. I'm like, yeah, right. You don't know anything about me. And I start reading. I get through a couple sentences, and I'm just in denial. And then I'm like, not actually crying, but basically like, oh my gosh, they know everything. And it was just so funny. It was such an experience to go through. What was awesome, the biggest part that helped me from MAP is I didn't know what was wrong with me. I didn't know what I didn't know. And so the way MAP does it is they find out what's wrong with me beforehand, and they find out my strong skill sets beforehand. And then they teach me hey, guess what? You're bad at time management and organization. Oh, okay. And then they say, here's how to fix it. Here's the skill set to be a great have great time management, and here's how to be organized. And I'm like, fantastic. First off, I didn't know that, and now I know how to do it all. So identifying what was wrong with me, the biggest thing that was so helpful. And then the second one was all the tools, tactically, how to fix those things. So it's a huge takeaway. I recommend this to everyone. And I have tons of friends starting their own businesses, growing their own businesses. And I'm like, you have to go there. And they're like, why? I don't understand. I don't want to spend the money. I can't take the time out of my business. I'm like, that's why you have to go. And I'm looking at them and I'm like, oh, you're controlling. Oh, you're egotistical. Oh, you're all these things. But I can't say it to them. And I'm like, Map will tell them. Map will figure all that stuff out. And I'm just like, go over there so you can fix your whole life. And it's so awesome. The ones that actually do go and get the training, so helpful.
Did you struggle with that too? With the time away, right? Because I think that's a big thing. People are, especially when your business is small, like going away for 3 days is tough, right? Did you struggle with that too?
In the beginning, everybody struggles with it.
Yeah.
But after I learned to delegate and empower my team and define roles of responsibilities, SOPs, how things have to be done, what the expectations are, and teach those to my team, all my managers that ran each department, then they didn't need me anymore. I had this mentor that was like, hey, get these things done. And I'd go and I'd get them all done. And I just kept reaching out. I'd go back to him every 6 months, 12 months, maybe gone by. Okay, I accomplished all those missions. I got to the point where I reached out to my mentors. I was like, hey, I have nothing else to do. I've delegated everything. What do I do now? And it was awesome. And they gave me great advice of what to do. But in the summertime was my busiest time because that's AC season in the beginning and in the middle. But once I delegated and raised my family up, my team to handle everything, summertime, they were like, get the hell out of my way. I'm doing it.
Yeah.
And I just would go on vacation. I would go and enjoy myself. I'd show up to jobs and bring guys Gatorade and lunch and, go do install with guys on random situations. But that was when I took most of my time off was the summertime. It was fantastic.
I wonder in some way if, Mike, you said fear with entrepreneurs. I wonder if something in the back of their mind is like a fear thing where if they let go, if they delegate too much, then they're no longer needed and like they're going to lose their business in some way, right? Because Cody, what you just mentioned, you delegate, and again, patterns. We just talked to somebody the other day where he was about to have a baby and he took the year off to have his child, which is amazing, right? And before he took the year off, he delegated and ensured that his team could operate the business without him. That's amazing to be able to take a year off from your business and it still operates and functions. I think that's an entrepreneur's dream, but most people don't do it. I wonder if they're just afraid to do it. I don't know.
One thing you mentioned was like, oh, go ahead, Mike.
Well, you go, Cody, then I'll give you my thoughts.
Okay. One thing you kind of mentioned was like, it's almost like the fear of being replaced. So many people, their identity is in being the leader of the business. And so they hire people that are not as capable and everybody comes to them and they're this big, mighty leader. And I tell everybody I'm so smart. I tell everybody how to do everything and they're not as smart as me. So they all come to me and look up to me and, that strokes my ego and, that's fantastic. And for that, for their mindset. But in reality, like the smartest guys know you're supposed to be the dumbest man in the room. You're supposed to hire people better than you to do everything better than you can. But another side of it, I hear this very often where they're like, look, I put my time into these people. I train these people. And then they go off and find a job. They leave me and go work somewhere else for $2 more an hour. And I'm like, how are you not $2 more an hour then? Like, they go and everybody blames the millennials, right? But I'm like, did you put the right position agreement into place? Did you have proper and consistent meetings with your individuals one-on-one to review performance and goals, individual goals and professional goals? Like, did you go and give them the proper training on a weekly basis? Or did you just teach them, put them in a role, sit back and wait for the profits to roll in? Are you the most competitive pay in your industry, or are you trying to be the cheap guy? And so many times when I call people out, I've done it in conferences where they're asking questions and all sorts of stuff. And I've spoken to those individuals and they're like, that was exactly what I needed to hear. I need to step up my game as a leader and not blame. I need to step up. I need Jocko Willink to come crack me in the jaw real quick and teach me some extreme ownership and then go and lead my team the right way. Because the way I led my team, I told them, hey, you are so valuable. You are so capable. You can go get a job anywhere you want in the whole country, here, anywhere. But here's why you should stay working here. And everybody stayed. And I gave them a great opportunity and a great lifestyle and great pay. And everybody did really well. But then once you take that away, that's when they go look somewhere else. That's when they actually, are going to go find other pay.
It's funny, Cody, because it's like that comment you said that people will leave for $2 more. It's like, so leaders are sometimes afraid to train them. It's like, okay, so here's your choice. You can train them and they can potentially leave, or you can not train them and they can stay. Pick your poison. Chances are they're going to stay after you train them. But if you don't train them and they stay, you're in trouble. That's a great answer. Andrew, your question was, I forgot your question, but your answer was they're afraid they want to wear that Superman. They want to wear the S, the leader of the company wants to.
Right.
They want to be the smartest guy in the room. And that's, your answer is perfect on that. The other side of that coin that I've observed is that leaders of companies think that they can do it better than the people they hire. And so they're afraid to delegate and they're afraid to empower their people. And as you grow in leadership, you realize what you just said about hiring the right people and people that are smarter than you. And you realize that most of the time, you're the bottleneck as the CEO. Because at the end of the day, people will define the performance capacity of any company. People will define the performance capacity of any company. So you got to hire the right people and train them to get them up to a level where they can perform. And if they're smarter than you, boy, you're lucky.
So, we're talking about making that switch from being the doer to being the leader and delegation. How did you make that switch? How did you make that jump?
Hi, if you're a CEO out there who's struggling with focus for your company, aligning your team, accountability, if you're struggling with execution, connecting the dots from where you're at to where you want to be, we've got a great program for you here at MAP. My name is Michael Caito. I'm the CEO. Most importantly, I was a client for 15 years, sold my company to a public company, and then bought MAP so that we can help other entrepreneurs with this specific problem. We're a 60-year-old company. We've worked with 170,000 individual executives and CEOs. We've worked with 15,000 organizations. This is what we do. Click the link below to learn a little bit more about how people just like you, CEOs, have transformed their business and ultimately transformed their life by running through the MAP system.
I think I had to be slapped in the face and realize I can't do everything.
That's a great opening line for us. You need to be slapped in the face.
Yeah. There's two different things. There's either getting slapped in the face, which is usually, hey, wake up. Here's the reality. Your ego is big. You can't do everything. There's not a million hours in the day. Or the other thing is getting kicked in the face. And that's like business problems that come up and make you check, are you capable of handling this? Are you stress resistant enough for real business, or should you just go work for somebody? But yeah, I had to get slapped in the face and realize I can't do everything. I'm not the smartest one there. I need people to help me accomplish what we're trying to accomplish. And I need to be able to trust my team to take over and handle things. A big part for me was when I went from being the only guy selling to having 3 salesmen and trusting that they're going to set up my installers with the right notes and trusting they're going to tell the customer the right thing and not lie about whatever or, promise the world, but that's not realistic. And I was really happy with how I did it, to make sure that the pay was ethical, to make sure that they're respecting the install teams. Like I did a good job at handing it over, and the team did well. It wasn't always great. Sometimes I'd have to step in, but that was my biggest moment. Was I was doing 100% of the sales. I was taking calls. I was running the business. I would literally stay at the office till 4 a.m. and go home and get a nap and come back for a 7 a.m. meeting.
Oof.
And
Brutal.
I was playing 2 roles. I was a salesman, I was the office manager, and I was a business operator creating SOPs through the middle of the night. And so I had to let them sell. And when I did that, they did really well. They grew and the business grew, and it went very well from there.
That is tough. That's especially just because sales is the lifeblood, right? It's like the business will live or die based on the output of the sales team. So you're passing that over. Did you have systems in place or anything in place to trust but verify and inspect, what you expect? Like, how did you go about that?
Yeah, I was watching sales success rates, opportunity calls. We had SOPs in place for when you quote a job, what to do, when you sell a job, how to transfer the notes over, how you're going to be paid, all these things. So I had that stuff in place. It was loose. It wasn't as great as, it would be now, but at the time, I had those things in place. It went well. The scariest thing for me was that my success rate was very high. I'm the business owner. It's a lot easier. I'm super, emotionally connected, and I'm going to be all about it. I'm enthusiastic with the customers. And then to go down to industry average closing rate or higher or lower, depending on the salesman's emotions, and then also paying marketing for those additional calls that we need. And now I'm paying the commission for those sales guys. So, there's just a lot of factors to take into place. So when I did it, I did it well. Thanks to those that were mentoring me and the associations I was part of.
Yeah. But you didn't, what I'm hearing from that is you didn't just hire a few guys and send them leads and send them on their way. You had systems in place and SOPs and, a process. And then you had the metrics to measure how it was going. So you could watch the close rates and say, okay, are they doing a good job? Or is it, benchmarking against the industry average? So you were monitoring. And so you could ensure that they were doing the right things and performing.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I think some entrepreneurs might jump in, right? They just hire the people and they don't have those systems in place. And they're like, well, it didn't work out. They're not as good as me. Well, you didn't set them up for success, right?
Correct. Oh, yeah. That doesn't work because I brought on these sales guys and then I put them in there and I give them great calls and they don't sell anything. And then they go and steal my customers and go off to a different business. No, dude, you didn't do it right. And you're doing the blame game. They're doing the blame game.
Totally exactly right. Jeez, excuses.
When you think about MAP, and so you go to the workshop, your team goes to the workshop, and you bring it back to the business, was there a key component, one of the MAP tools or systems or processes that helped you more than others?
Having the skills in time management and how to be organized was massive for me. I came with a lot of talents, being a strong leader, learning things from the Marine Corps, taking that with me through service champions, and being a leader. I'm good in that area, but it was like the tactical details of what am I doing wrong. I was wasting so much time, and I could have been spending that time on higher priority things. I was doing like you guys taught. I was inventing tasks to do to help me avoid the priority task. And I was cramming books into my brain like crazy in that season. And I still do. Books are so valuable, and so many people are shy away from books. If you're shying away from books, use Audible and just cram them in your brain or go work for somebody else. 2 choices. But just that was the biggest thing for me. I became an organized person. I decided to have a clear desk and never have a dirty desk. And I gave myself specific rules to work by, and it helped me actually just take my day from, let's say, 10 hours of being there to 10 hours of intentional work and execution. And I would go home feeling like $1 million. I ended up adding a workout into my schedule. I ended up adding all sorts of other things into my schedule, and then getting home earlier because you guys helped me with time management. I started getting home at 5 o'clock for dinner every night instead of 6, 7 o'clock. And it's like those things.
Family's like, what are you doing home so early?
Yeah.
My kids would be like, Dad, leave.
Yeah. It's like, who are you getting home at 7 when your wife says dinner will be ready at 5:30 and you told her you'll be ready at 5:30, but you stay there working on things because you're sloppy. And you guys helped me be able to be home on time and respect my wife and my family. And that's what we work for. And we just make all these excuses. And so that helped my marriage, helped my being a dad, helped my family, lifestyle, everything going on. So it's not just business, it's life.
Mike talks about it a lot. I forget the way you put it, Mike, but you talk about like the different rings, I think, with family and business and your health and how they all sort of work together. And what you just said, Cody, I agree, right? Like if things, if you feel like you're not getting things accomplished at work and you come home, then you're like, today sucked. And then it's going to impact how you show up for your family and vice versa, right? If things aren't good at home, it's going to impact work. So having those things in sync just has such a dramatic impact on your life, right? And yeah, again, like being able to execute at work and have things go well or efficiently, you're going to be able to show up at home in a much more positive way.
100%. They just kind of reinforce each other. If you're strong here in your personal life, it's going to make you better in your business. It's going to make you better in your family. If you're better in your family, you're going to be better in your business. It just starts concentrically and moves out.
Yeah. Cody, let's talk about, you just recently, switching gears a little bit, talk about that ultra marathon, man, through Zion. You raised money for orphans, which is incredible. That's incredibly commendable. What led to that?
I was not a triathlete or anything like that 2 years ago, and I had an experience. I'm a believer in God and a strong Christian, and I had an experience where I hadn't ran pretty much almost at all in 10 years, and God said, go run a half marathon. And I signed up the night before and went through a brutal experience of blisters, and it was like I was running on burning hot razor blades. And I was in that experience, had a very close time with Jesus, but also built the strength of separating mind from body and built up this mental strength that I had never had. And running, I hated running forever. So that was a big growth for me. I went through the finish line and just kept running. And somebody stopped me and put the medal on me. I didn't know I was running from my emotions. Runners experience this. They're so fatigued, they can't control their emotion. I was full on sobbing, like ugly cry, can't breathe, just crying my heart out. And I learned so much in that run. And I was like, you know what, I'm going to do more of this. And a friend, Chad actually was like, hey, let's go do a sprint triathlon, which is a half-mile swim in the ocean, like a 12 to 24-mile bike, and a 5K run. And we did that, and it was awesome. And we were like all jazzed up, and we had a bunch of fun, and we're still in runner's high. And we started talking about Ironman. And Ironman 70.3 is a 1.2 mile swim, a 56 mile bike, and a 13.1 mile run, half marathon. And we're talking about it, and I had no interest. Like, I would never, in my mindset that morning, I will never do an Ironman in my life. And like, I just had this, you know what, I'm going to just sign up for this and figure it out. And I signed up, and I clicked no insurance, and I paid for it. And I turned around to the guys that were all sitting there, and I started to like get emotion in my eyes of like, I'm excited and I'm scared out of my mind. This is going to be brutal. And so I started training. I had 5 months, and in training, people are like, hey, are you going to do a full Ironman? And I was like, there's no way. I'm never going to do that. That's crazy. It's double all those distances I just said. Yeah. And I'm a month out, and I had a runner's high situation of running in the snow in Big Bear. And I just got back, and I opened my computer, and I signed up for the full Ironman. And so I went through April 2024. I did the 70.3, and 3 weeks later, I did the full Ironman. And it was like so brutal, but so like, felt so accomplished that there's this thing it's impossible. Less than 0.5% of people have ever attempted it and accomplished it. And you become like, what I learned through that process was just so many things of how anything is obtainable. Anything is possible. And I try to push that on people. Like, people look at things like, oh, I could never have a business that big. Oh, I could never date that girl. Oh, I could never have that many kids or be that good of a dad. I'm like, dude, you could do anything. And I use this story to help push people to go beyond their standard fears that they have that's sitting way down here, because they're capable of far more than anybody has ever thought. And anybody can run an Ironman. You just have to set a crazy goal, do some research, practice, train for it, and then just push yourself. If you never quit, you'll finish. And so it was a crazy experience. It was very painful, but very accomplishing. But okay, so real quick, I will say about these things, it is God's perfect confidence booster, because you finish this crazy thing and you're all excited, but he keeps you humble because he'll have like a 73-year-old woman beat you by an hour on your time. So it's pretty funny, but yeah, there's some ladies out there and old folks that are just, they do this every year and they'll beat you. But it was a wild experience, man. My friend did it with me. His name's Ben Houston, and six months later, he's like, "Hey, we need to do something else." And we talked about doing a 50-miler, and we picked doing a 100-miler, and he sent me a couple 100-milers, and we just picked Zion just because. And we didn't know it was like the 14th hardest 100-mile run in the world. And we didn't know it was going to be extremely brutal. But yeah, we did it for the purpose of raising money to save 100 orphans, build 2 orphanages overseas. Each orphanage holds 50 kids. And it was a crazy experience. We made it 73 miles in 28 hours. And then there's time cutoffs that we hadn't anticipated. We figured we'd be way ahead, no problem. And that's the one little thing we didn't plan for. And they stopped us and they wouldn't let us continue because of safety stuff. And there's not aid stations further and all this. So it was kind of it was a difficult thing to process for a little bit, but I had time to process it on my own and be like happy with my accomplishment, be proud of what I had done. And it was a lot to learn. You don't really think like there's surviving in endurance runs, which is what most of them are. And there's like racing to be number one. So for almost all of mine, it's been surviving and figuring out like, can I accomplish this? And a lot of people will ask me like, well, don't you want to make sure that you can do this and do that? And I'm like, I need it to be scary. Like, I need to not know I can accomplish this. There's got to be risk. Well, what if you get hurt? Like I said, like there's got to be some risk to it. I'll figure it out if I get hurt. But like, yeah, just set a huge challenge. And like, I'm going through a legal battle. I'm going through starting a business. I'm going through a lot of stuff. I'm like, let's throw in something else. Like,
yeah, not enough stress. Add some more stress.
But like when you do that, when you add up all these things together, it's like stress is not stressful anymore. Stress is just a thing. It's like if you can fast for 3 days, if you've done a water fast, then when you miss a meal, it's like it's not even a big deal. You just don't care. Yeah. And so add a ton of stress to your life because then you'll be able to handle it so much better.
Well, I like that perspective, right? That, you know, when you've been through something hard, then the smaller things become, but just, I guess, other things become more trivial or smaller. You realize they're not so these massive things you make them out to be. Or when you do really hard things, then you realize, oh, then there's other stuff. I can do these other hard things. But I want to come back. Did you do a 3-day fast?
I've done multiple 3-day fasts.
Really? Yeah. That sounds terrible. I've never done one.
But it's like, so a lot of Christians do a 3-day fast because it's a spiritual event. But there's, even if you're not a Christian, like doing a 3-day water fast is very healthy. There's a lot
of
that
those
your body
resets.
processes.
Yeah, I've heard of that. It just sounds terrible. I've never done it, but it sounds like you've done it.
You're hungry on day one, and then it's not that bad after that.
Okay.
If you get hungry, you drink a pint of water, and then that's it, dude. You're kind of good. But
I don't know.
Okay, so for your first fast, it's going to be more difficult. You know, like if you start a business and your first 1-star review, you lose your mind. It's the worst, most stressful thing. But then once you like figure that out and you get through some years, like another 1-star review comes through, it's not that big of a deal. I got a process. I'll call the customer. Let's get this figured out and, you know, solve the situation. Yeah. But so I guess for a first timer, it's a mental strength thing. What do you want in life that has a hold on you? Oh, I need a bunch of sleep. Oh, I have to eat. Oh, whatever, you know, whatever your sins are in life or your vices that you have, like everybody has them. If you face one at a time and you're capable of like putting a plan together to stop whatever that is. Let's say it's food. Okay. I'm going to do a 3-day water fast. Plan it, you know, have a killer meal before, and then have it all planned. What am I going to do when I'm hungry? what am I going to do at this lunch meeting? I've been on 3-day fast and gone to multiple lunch meetings during those 3 days that are business lunches. And I sit there and I drink water. And they all have to give me a hard time about it. I'm like, look, this is my purpose. So it is what it is. So
it's like that discipline gene.
Yeah. Discipline for sure.
So you're now coaching other home service business owners, I imagine other entrepreneurs that want to scale their business and see some of the success that you've had. Is that correct?
Yeah, I kind of dabble in that area. I have a lot of friends and folks in my church and people that I've known through the industry, and I help a lot of individuals.
What would you say is the biggest issue that holds people back from ratcheting up and scaling their business to the next level?
We've talked a lot about them on this call. It's fear of like the unknown, like marketing, for instance. I'll look at somebody's business and they're like, hey, when I get these calls, I convert this well and we make this much money. And I'm like, great, let's increase your marketing. They're like, oh, I'm scared. I don't want to spend money on marketing because what if nothing happens? And then I wasted all that money. You're marketing right now in these channels. Let's massage them a little bit bigger. You'll get more calls. So it's fear there. It's fear to price themselves out where they should be priced. There's a good handful that it's ego, big time ego, like what we were talking about before. Just they want to be, the smartest man in the room, and so they're stuck dealing with everybody who's not, a high level performer. And then some folks, it's just change. Like they're so stuck in their ways. I've had literally people come to me. They're like, help me. This isn't working. And we go through everything and they're like, this is how it is. I'm like, hey, this is what's wrong. We have to change these things. Like, I agree. You're right. I know I need to do it. I've known I need to do it for so many years. Okay, let's do it. And then we start and they're like, I can't handle this emotionally. I'm going back to how it used to be. And they're like, I'm like, you're going to deal with this, this, and this. They're like, I'll deal with those things. It is what it is. I can't handle change.
Wow.
So,
interesting.
Yeah. Emotions.
That's really interesting.
On the leader.
That's very interesting. All right. We've been stealing your time for almost an hour now. I have one more question for you. And then Mike, I don't know if you have any questions, but if you could go back to like the early days when you first started out and give yourself one piece of advice or change something before you started scaling up SoCal Airflow, what would that be?
Okay, so I have two answers for you. Don't be mad at me. Number one, I wouldn't tell myself anything because I want myself to learn those lessons that I had to learn. It made me the person I am. I wouldn't change that for anything. Even the toughest things, like everything, I wouldn't change anything. But for somebody starting out, I would say get help, read books, do an investigation on what you want to do before you jump ship from wherever you work. But if you're not reading books, if you're not listening to mentors, if you're not getting professional advice in things, then you're not going to get very far. Your brain has so much knowledge, and there's so many other things outside of what you know that you need to find out, or you're going to go through a lot of painful situations. And you might think that you're too smart for that. I thought I was too smart for that. I thought I had this secret sauce, and I was very wrong. And there's a lot of pain coming. But if you're humble enough to go and talk to professionals, get set up with MAP, go read books, go to industry conferences, and like get professionals to give you advice, even if it costs you money, it's well worth it. And that's the first thing that anybody needs to do to even know if they want to get into their own business. And if they decide not to, at least they got a great education and they'll appreciate the boss that they work for now. But if they're going to go and do these things on their own, they need to just constantly be educating themselves. Even if the economy is dipping down, your education doesn't change. If the business isn't doing great, your education doesn't change. Just keep growing your education, your knowledge, and you'll be able to handle things and grow and do better in life.
That's super good advice. Yeah. I mean, the most successful people I know are always learning, always trying to find new things and talking to people and expanding.
Continuous learning, baby.
Go ahead, Mike. What'd you have?
Listen, I can't end this call. Like I know he's super entrepreneur. Cody, you're super entrepreneurial. Like you've always got something cooking in your head. What do you got cooking right now? There's no way you're not working on something else.
Yeah. So a friend of mine came to me and he's talking about software, and we rolled through how it works for these other industries. And we started talking about how that would work in the home services industries. And he's from outside the industry and doesn't even understand home services really. And so we really spent quite a few days like rolling on this idea. How do we build this up? Like, what would this look like? And then how do we monetize this? And we came up with this solution. And so basically, we're creating a software. We have development going. It's going very well. And the purpose of this software is to take out the guesswork in dispatching. And so what I mean is, take a plumbing business, for instance. A customer calls plumbing business, hey, I have a problem, I don't know. And they say, okay, well, how old is your plumbing, or whatever information they need to find out. They'd say, I don't know, I'm just guessing. So that they really just kind of send a plumber almost blind. In this process with our software, the customer will use the software and go through figuring everything out so that the dispatch team can see exactly what's going on in the house, what kind of plumbing situation they have, what kind of temperament the customer is in, and be able to, on a dashboard, rank those calls, best call to lowest call, even putting in the dollar amount, the value of each call next to them, so that the dispatch team can pick the best calls to send the right text first, rather than just having guesswork. And another solution is in that, with the guesswork, some companies get 500 calls a day and they can only run 200 calls a day. And so now, instead of just guessing on which ones are the best 200, they're able to see all the calls, rank them in priority, so they're running the best 200 calls, not just guessed 200 calls.
I mean, this is
That's really smart.
Okay, I love this idea. It's like lead scoring on steroids. You know what I mean? Except you have a real live client that you can actually convert within the next 3 or 4 hours. It's pretty cool.
100%.
I like that.
Eventually, this will be financing customers. It'll be closing deals. It'll be selling maintenance programs. It'll be doing all these things that we yell at our technicians to do, and they do it sometimes, but not every time. And this has all the best dialogue from top industry sales individuals that know how to speak to homeowners based off of, their experience. And it does it 100% of the time, and not just when your salesperson is in the best mood, or not just when your call center rep is saying the right information.
So as I put my entrepreneur hat on, I'm like, what this could do to revenue, or take it one step further, profit per technician in the field, could be super dramatic. I mean, the ROI on this from that perspective could be massive. Game changer.
The rough numbers that I'm projecting and running are pretty substantial.
Good. Can't wait to hear more.
Yeah, I'm really curious to see how that operates. But I mean, I would obviously have a huge impact. It's the predictive side of it, to be able to really understand who you should be servicing, and that's amazing. Well, Cody, thank you so much for your time, man. We really appreciate you sharing it with us, and you obviously have a ton of knowledge and experience in the space. And I think there was a lot of great content that people can learn from on this episode today. So thank you.
Been amazing.
Well, guys, thanks for having me. Honored to be here. Really appreciate it, and glad to share with you guys.
All right.
Love it. Thank you.
Well, if people before we jump, if people want to connect with you or learn more about you or anything else, where could they go? Where can they find you?
All my connections are just my name, Cody Novini. Like got LinkedIn, Instagram, however you want to find me, and that's good from there.
Awesome. All right, man. Well, thank you again, Mike. Good to see you. And thank you, everybody, for listening. And we will see you next time.